Hey YouTube, we're back out here at the goat pasture today. We just got done sorting our billies off and shipping them back to their owner, and came out here this morning, had a couple different jobs we needed to get done. Cube these goats with some protein. We had to give our guard dogs some heartworm medicine, fill a dog feeder, things like this. So anyhow, while I was out here, I wanted to go over winter grazing with you guys and what I do for my winter grazing on my operation in my part of the world. And I'm sure that everybody is going to have something different than what I'm doing, but I'm going to share with you kind of what I do, or how I think about it at least. As you guys know, I rotate these goats around this whole grazing operation, this whole lease place. Subdivide these pastures into smaller units and move these goats roughly move them once a week, give or take, depending on the grazing conditions, size of pasture, whatnot. But one thing that by doing that it does for me for my winter grazing that's really key is budgeting my feed out. And what I mean by that is knowing how much feed I have for the number of animals that I have until I get to springtime, when these plants break dormancy and so they start growing green leaf and they start increasing the amount of feed that's out there on that pasture. And so when I break this unit down into small pieces, and I know how long a little piece will last me, you know, however many acres that is. If I know that 35 acres will last me for these goats a week during the winter grazing, I can simply sit down and do some calculations of the entire number of acres I have available and know roughly how much longer I have feed to adequately get me by. And so by doing that, you know what your carrying capacity can be at the beginning of winter, instead of the worst thing that can happen to me is I get to about the middle of February or the first part of February, and all of a sudden I've went around my entire property and grazed everything, and there's no new growth out there, and basically I feel like I'm out of feed and I have all these animals to get to spring yet. And for me, spring breaking dormancy is generally about March 15th. So that's kind of what I base my whole grazing schedule off of. And so if I don't have enough forage to get me until that date, I know I have to destock or have to figure something different out. So that's why it's such an important thing for me to do that, to rotate these goats and help me better understand what I have and better manage all my feed and keep my animal performance up. Because right now all these goats, that, you know, they're eating for 2 or maybe even 3 in some cases. All these goats should be bred, and so their nutrition demand is up there. So that leads me to another part of my winter grazing. We do supplement with protein here. So every third day I will put out a 20% cube that consists of varying feedstuffs. There's a little bit of corn in there, and it's kind of a least cost type formula, but it's a 20% cube, like I say, and it allows these goats to utilize some of the lesser quality forage out here, some of these dormant grasses or dead weeds that have lost a lot of their nutrient value, but they still have something there. They can still provide some roughage for these goats, and there'll be something in there. But by adding that additional protein into their diet, they're able to further break those plant particles down and access more nutrients out of them than they would have if their protein levels would be lower. So you know, you can debate out there. Some people, you know, they want to be completely grass fed, and that's fine, and I think that's a great thing, and kind of wish I could figure out how to do that. But I've experimented with some of that before, and I didn't have as much luck as I wanted. And so anyhow, this is the route we're going right now. Now with that said, I want to stress that we supplement feed. We do not substitute feed. So I'm not out here hauling forage to these goats. I'm not unrolling hay. I'm not doing things like that. I'm simply injecting a little bit of protein into their diet and allowing them to better utilize some of this forage out here. So maybe the next part of it is the types of forage that these goats really utilize during the winter months, that are really important for me to have in my pastures to keep these goats going. The number one, first and most important thing is live oak. It's a type of oak tree that we have here in our part of the world, and a lot of parts of Texas. And basically, it's an evergreen oak tree. Um, keeps keeps green leaves through the winter, and those goats really get a lot of value out of eating those plants. Um, has a lot of protein in it, has a lot of other nutrients, and it's a first choice. It's really palatable for those goats. So they go, when you turn them into a new paddock, that's one of the first things they go to. So it's really nice to have something green for them to eat, you know, at the end of December, early part of January, when everything else around here is brown. So it's a big deal. You know, after that, well, we've got a few other things. Cedar, we have a lot of eastern red cedar here. These goats will consume that. They will get something from that. Although it's not like the live oak, it's not a first choice feed. When you turn these goats out into a paddock, they'll go through that first tier feed first, and then you'll see them start consuming the cedar towards the end of your grazing session in that little paddock. So it's not a first choice feed, but it is something green that they do utilize. Additionally, some other green things. We will have some ryegrass come up underneath some trees here and there, and some shady spots that get a little more moisture, and those goats will utilize some of that green forage as well. Lastly, we have a prickly pear here. It's a cactus for those of you real unfamiliar with it, and it's something that these goats, it's kind of the last thing on their list as far as green forage goes out here. Starting pretty much now and going on into February, they'll use some of that prickly pear. You'll see them breaking off pads, and you'll see pads that have been chewed on and things like that. So that's something else that's green out here during a time when everything else is brown, that those goats will go to and get a little bit of value out of. I don't know what else we need to really cover on that. I probably talked long enough for one of these videos. Like I say, we cube these goats. We're giving them just under a pound of 20% protein cubes every 3 days. We just gave our dogs our heartworm meds. That's a monthly deal that I give to them. Lastly, we got a dog feeder to fill, and we might build a little bit of fence here after we get all that done. Hope everybody had a great holiday. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'm sure everybody's aware that hopefully 2021 is going to be a little better than 2020, but looking forward to making more videos and taking you guys along with us. So everybody have a great day, and we'll talk to you on the next video. Bye.